Hi everybody, this video is a demonstration of the watercolor monoprinting techniques. You can use a transparency, which is thin plastic, or you could use a plexiglass piece. Both of these are located on the counter across from our supplies. For this you're going to need some watercolors, you'll need some water-soluble markers, which are the Crayola ones, you'll need some brushes, probably a tray that you can mix watercolors with, and a pencil to write your name on your work, or a Sharpie. You'll probably need some paper towels because you're going to need to clean stuff up. You will need one of our spray bottles, and there are a few of them around the classroom. You can share them. And then you'll need some paper. There are a couple of types of paper. One is multimedia paper. It's very rough on one side, and then it is smooth on the other side. And this is located on the paper table under the clock, and it's labeled. This is the same paper we're using in another class for pastel work because it's multimedia paper. I also have some small watercolor paper. It's about this size. And it's a little bit rough on one side. You can see it has some texture. And then the other side is smooth. So you can use whichever side you want. So we're going to be doing some monoprinting with this paper. If you'd like, you can also cut your papers into small sizes. So I'm going to show you how to do this. First of all, choose your surface or your plate, transparency or plexiglass. The plexiglass is what we use for the drawing class, and it has Sharpie already on it because we use it for drawing quadrants. So just use the opposite side here so you can keep the Sharpie on. It can also help you, it's called registration. It helps you to line up your paper. If you have a small paper and you do a design here, you can line up your paper to the area, okay? So use it if you want. So first step is you can start drawing a design. So some of these markers have been used quite a bit, and some of them are a little bit wet. So some of them might not show up as well. It's about trial and error. I'm just going to quickly do some designs here, just so you can see what I'm doing with printmaking, monoprinting. So the first step after you've gathered your materials is to start drawing with marker. If your marker gets dirty like this one, you can just use a paper towel to clean it off a little bit. And then just keep using marker. As you're working, it might dry just a little bit. That happens sometimes. Let's do a darker one here. The purple seems to work really well. So you can draw something specific, or it can be abstract. It's totally up to you. Then if you want to use watercolor, you can also use watercolor. I'm going to do a little bit of watercolor on this. Just going to grab some purple here and a little bit more. I'm going to paint some colors on here. Maybe paint some at the bottom. If you want really thick color, like heavy color, you can move your brush around quite a bit. Get your color on here, paint whatever you're going to paint. And then after you've done, just know that this has a lot of trial and error. You're going to find things that work and things that don't work, okay? Then you're going to get your paper. I'm using the rough side, and I'm going to be putting the rough side towards my print. So if you'd like, you can take the spray bottle and you can spray your paper from a distance, but don't do it over your print. You'll have to do it at the side. So I'm going to do it over here, or I can move this to the side, and I can just gently spray my paper, spritz my paper. There we go, it's spritzed a little bit. You could also spritz your actual artwork if you want, because the marker starts to dry a little. So as you can see that this is a little bit wet. If it's too wet, get a tissue and just blot it a little bit. Some people just take a sponge and they dampen the whole thing, but sometimes if you spritz it and blot it, it comes out really nice. Then you turn it over and you line it up the best you can, and then you rub the back of your paper. You're burnishing, it's called burnishing, but you don't have to burnish too much. You can actually start to see that the paint and the marker is starting to come through. So after you've done that, you can peek a little bit to see what you see. And if you like what you see, you can go ahead and peel the whole thing off. If you want to, you can spritz a little bit more. You can also paint more on there. Like let's say I want to paint a little bit more brown right here because it didn't show up right. Then I just lay it back down again and I burnish the back. These are quick and fast prints at first, but I want you to think about layering on top of layer on top of layer if you'd like. Okay, so I think I'm done. I'm going to peek at it. That's better. I'm going to pull off my print, and there's my first print. So right now it's pretty wet. So what I'll do is I'll probably set it aside and I'll let it dry. Okay? I'm going to show you how to use the transparency. It's basically the same thing. So I'm going to set the plexiglass aside, and I'm going to dry this area. Then I'm going to wipe down my plexiglass, and I think I'm just going to use paints. I'll use dark color so you can see. So basically, you're painting watercolor onto your transparency however you want. I'll use like dark. You may have to get quite a bit of water to put in these watercolors if they haven't been used today. So I'll just do a quick design just so you can see. And I'm going to use, I'll put some marker on there so you can see what it might look like. And for this one, I'm going to use some watercolor paper. All right, so here we go. It's just a basic design. Some people are putting layer after layer after layer on top. That is perfectly fine. Then I'm going to spritz my paper. I would move my transparency a little, spritz my paper, take off some of those big areas if I want to, and then I'm ready to turn this over and see what I get with watercolor paper. Okay. So everybody gets a piece of watercolor paper or two to try. Please try as many as you can. You can cut the paper. I'm going to do that next. Let's see how it looks. It's hard to see this one. Okay, this one's kind of muted. There we go. So there's my first print. It's not as dark as what I'd like, but I see these kind of little mountain things that I'm getting at. So if you want to, like this one's almost dry. If you want to, you can go in and you can really, really make it thick and heavy if you want to with your color. Add more watercolors, let it dry a little bit, spritz your paper, and you'll get a more solid print. So that's the process of how it works. I'm going to show you how to clean up. It's actually really easy. Get your spray bottle, spray this. In the last class we took them to the sink, but it was a real mess. Just wipe it down. That's all you have to do. Just tissue or paper towel. Please dry this off really nicely and then put it back on the stack. Clean both sides. And then the same for this one. Spray it down, wipe it off. Keep reusing the plate as much as you'd like. There we go. So basically that's monoprinting with watercolors and water-soluble markers. Have fun. Make some nice prints. And don't forget to put your name on them. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. So I'm going to put my name at the bottom here and like period 5, whatever class period is. Make sure your name's on the back or the front. Thanks.